God, why am I single? When are you going to give me a person, a companion, a husband? Why do you have me alone? Have you ever asked God these questions? I certainly have, hundreds of times. And I have asked them aloud, and I have asked them secretly in my heart. And after all of these inquiries, I never really felt like God gave me a definitive answer about my who and my when. But one day a light came on, and instead of asking God about my person, I started asking God about the purpose of my singleness. And then I really felt like God actually began to answer me. In today's video, part 2 of the Living Single series, I want to talk to you about purpose and preparation. Let's go. Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. I am Regina Monique, and this is Woman of Your Word, an empowerment ministry for women and youth where we renew our minds, we walk by faith, we are being transformed by grace, and we live courageously. Before we get into this video, my friend, if you have not already subscribed, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so that you have joined the YouTube family. And also turn on your notifications so that you do not miss any upcoming videos from me. And head on over to Instagram and follow me over there as well. So the thing we have to remember about God is that He is very, very intentional. More than just, letting things happen just to happen or just to fill time and space. God always has a purpose for everything that He allows in our lives, including a season of singleness. When I asked God about my purpose for being single, He began to answer me in unimaginable ways. And not one time has God ever, told me that the purpose of my singleness is to solely wait for marriage, even though that is something that I do desire. You see, the truth is, marriage will not be for everyone. And in fact, it may not even be God's will for my life, which actually used to be really hard for me to say and to accept. But remember, we talked about being content, right? I can do all things, including be single, because God gives me the strength to live and to thrive in the place where He has me. So, what is the purpose of singleness? Well, I believe that there are actually two main purposes. And the first one is to pursue an undistracted and undivided devotion to the Lord. I touched on this a little bit in part 1 of this series, which I'll go ahead and add up here at the top in the info card. Go ahead and watch this video, which talks about the myths of singleness, if you haven't already done so. But the gift of singleness actually affords us the freedom to focus. And not so much focus on ourselves or focus on our careers or focus on anything that's like something we can gain in the world, right? And there's nothing wrong with focusing on those things, but our singleness affords us the freedom to focus on God and our relationship with God. Now, you might be wondering, well, why do I need to focus on my relationship with God? Why can't I just do my own thing, be a good person and just have a nice life? Well, I'll tell you why you can't just do that. Number one, you were created for God. In the book of Colossians, it actually says that all things were made by God, for God, okay? Sis, I hate to break it to you, but you weren't created with all of your gifts and all of your talents, all of your abilities, just for yourself. God created you for his use, for his purpose, and for his glory. Okay? Number 2, God really wants you to know him. Okay? And he wants a relationship with you. He desires to have a relationship with you. I don't know any other person in the world, and this is to include my parents who created me, who raised me, who loved me, who fed me, who clothed me. Like, I don't know anybody in the world who wants a relationship with me more than God wants a relationship with me. And the same goes for you. God is so relentless in his pursuit of us and our hearts. That kind of love, it doesn't exist purely the way that it does with God. He wants to know you. He wants you to know him as well. And the third thing is that if you don't get a solid foundational relationship with God first, nothing else that happens in your life will make sense. Or you will seek to be fed and filled by the things of this world that were never designed to fill you, even if you are a good person. So there are actually a few things that will happen, or that I believe will happen, when you pursue undivided devotion to the Lord. And these things have happened for me, and they have been very rewarding for me. And so I want to share them with you in hopes that you have the same experience in pursuing undivided devotion to the Lord. The first thing that will happen is that you will learn God. And by learning God, I mean you will learn God's ways, you will learn God's character, you will learn God's heart, you will learn God's love for you. Okay? I really believe that out of everything you can get in this life, and there's a lot of getting to be gotten in this life, getting to know, learning, and understanding God is supreme to everything. Okay? You may have once thought, or I don't know, maybe you still think that God is mean and that God is punishing you with singleness because you feel lonely or you are alone. Sis, I have felt that way on many occasions, and so I do understand that. But God is not mean, okay? And he's actually very kind. And it's because of his kindness that he allows us to be in a season of singleness. And when you know the nature and the character of God, you can understand it better. If we look at Jesus with the Samaritan woman at the well in John chapter 4, he was so loving towards her. This woman was thirsty, meaning her soul was thirsty. Her mind, her will, and her emotions, not just her physical body. And Jesus told her about a living water that would satisfy her soul. Jesus was really honest in telling her about her 5 ex-husbands that she had. And he also told her about this 6th man that she was now living with, okay? He lovingly and very gently pointed out to her that she was thirsty and that she was trying to quench her thirst with men. But what she really needed was to come to Jesus first. She needed a relationship with Jesus first. And she ultimately wanted this living water that Jesus was offering. Now, all of us can take note of this. Maybe some of us aren't thirsty in terms of multiple relationships with men, but the message is still the same, in that we all have a tendency to look to the pleasures of this world to fill us in ways that only God can. Sis, this is why undivided devotion to God is so incredibly important, because you have to have a relationship with him first. We have to get this relationship right before we can get anything else right. God, in his infinite mercy, knows that we really and desperately and truly need him. That's why he has ordained every single person to a season of singleness, so that we can focus on this one relationship first. It's a kindness, it's not a cruelty, that he would give us time to know him deeply, so that we aren't reckless and restless in our lives later. The second thing that will happen when you focus on having undivided devotion to the Lord is that you will learn yourself. You will learn your brokenness. You will learn your pain and things that have caused you pain. You will learn what your deepest longings and your deepest desires are. You will learn your joys, the things that bring you joy. You will learn what your gifts are. You'll learn what your talents are. You'll even learn what dreams you may have. I want you to notice that I put this one second to learning and knowing God, because you can't know yourself without first knowing who made you. Now, let me tell you something about discovering yourself. And I always want to make sure that I'm being completely honest when I'm doing these videos, because I don't want anybody to, feel like something is one way or think something is one way when it's really not that way. In all honesty, I have to say that when you're discovering yourself and when you're learning yourself, boo-boo, sometimes it's not cute. It's not pretty. It's not pleasant. It's actually kind of terrifying sometimes, and it can be very painful. But what I want you to remember is God is very good. He always has good intentions when it comes to us. When things come up, they're coming up so that they can come out. God will always bring you to things to bring you right on through some things, right? Just stick with him. Even though it's hard, even though it's painful, even though it's uncomfortable, you're not somebody who likes to sit in your pain. You're not somebody who likes to get emotional and feel. And I'm telling you, that is hard. I don't particularly care for that myself. But what I know is that God has been with me every step of the way through that. Every step of learning myself, every step of dealing with things, God has been with me. I want you to trust him, and I want you to trust in his very good intentions by bringing you to things so that he can bring you through things, okay? Your singleness is really the time to finish some things that might be lingering in your life. And because you have already built a relationship with God first, God will be a safe place to help you process. And he will also provide you with, and he'll open your mind to resources and tools that will help deepen the exploration of yourself. I remember when I, really got serious about my relationship with God almost 8 years ago now. And I started going to counseling. I became a part of a purity ministry at the church I attended. I started building accountability relationships. I started confronting issues, specifically ones that haunted me from my childhood that, just had me on these emotional roller coasters with people. Like, I started dealing with those things. I started sitting in my pain and really letting the pain work to propel me into greater purpose, to propel me into love, and to propel me into creativity. When I think about who I was then versus who I am now, I've always been a creative person, but because I had all of this junk and the weight of like my past and my issues and my brokenness, because I just had that stuff sitting, I wasn't really dealing with it. I couldn't fully be who God, made me to be, this creative person. I couldn't reach the potential that was really inside of me. I can do that now. And no, it wasn't easy. Yes, it was like pulling teeth in the beginning, trying to get me to talk, trying to get me to deal with things. But the more that I leaned into what God was trying to teach me and show me about me, the more courageous I became. And the third thing that happens when you decide to pursue undivided devotion to the Lord is you learn how to do relationships, specifically friendships. Your friendships are your best simulators. God is still working with me on this one. I have had a lot of friendships to know what the weak areas are for me. If I didn't spend time getting to know myself, then I wouldn't have discovered these weak areas, okay? Do you see how each one is actually a layer that builds on the last? You get to know God, layer. Then you get to know yourself, another layer. And then you get to know people, another layer. And I will tell you that friendships really have been challenging for me. One thing that y'all will learn about me as I'm doing these videos is that I ain't afraid of truth, and I can tell the truth, okay? Now, whether or not people are ready to hear the truth, that's beyond me and beyond my control, but I am not afraid of truth. And so God is still working on me because I really do struggle with a few things, two of which are unrealistic expectations and being offended easily. Those are my two struggles that I find myself dealing with a lot in my friendships. And some people would call me really sensitive, you know, whatever. It is what it is, okay? I know what childhood relationships and schemas and shame scripts, these weaknesses, you know, that I struggle with, I know where they stem from. And so I'm not really going to get into, you know, specific examples, because then this video would be 42 minutes long, and you nor I have the time for that, which maybe that could be another video topic later. We'll see. But the point is this: if I had not taken the time to get to know God and then allowed him to show me myself, I wouldn't have even recognized how these weaknesses manifest themselves in my friendships, right? Remember how I said that whoever you are right now as a single person is exactly who you will be in a marriage? Yeah, I don't take that back. I'm serious about that, like for real. Singleness is a time to learn how to do relationships with people, so that if God, you know, if he does decide to send me a boo to serve him with, to do life with, then I can address things at the source so that they don't become issues in my marriage with my spouse. Your friendships, the relationships that you have right now, are opportunities for you to learn how to do them in healthy ways. Your friendships really do and really can, if you let them, give you a lot of practice. So the more time you spend with God, the more he will reveal about himself. The more time you spend with God, the more he will reveal to you about you. The more time you spend with God, the more he will reveal to you the things that you need to learn in relationships. And finally, the other part of your purpose for being single is preparation. Singleness is a time where we're supposed to be engaging with God. I wanted to add that engaging with God also keeps us out of trouble. So keep that in mind. We are engaging with him in the here and now by learning God, learning ourselves, and learning how to have healthy relationships. And as we engage with him, he prunes us in preparation for our calling. Listen, there is nothing that I find more nerve-wracking than to go into something unprepared. I hate the feeling of not being ready. Focusing on God or having an undivided devotion to him prepares us most for carrying out the mission of service and ministry to the world. And please know that the purpose of your life, no matter what season you are in, is for you to glorify God. If we don't take advantage of this time of singleness and devotion to God, we will be ineffective in the mission God has for us. Now, your mission may be in marriage. Your mission may be in raising children. Your mission may be in having an online ministry. Your mission may be in traveling the world as a worship leader. Your mission may be in teaching. Your mission may be in caring for children in foster care or adoption. Your mission may be in nursing. Your mission may be in medicine. Your mission may be in accounting or finance and helping people have financial freedom. Your mission may be in playing or coaching team sports. Whatever it is, you must be prepared for the mission in order to be effective. Sis, take advantage of your singleness. Spend real time with God. Get to know him. Be devoted to him. Get to know yourself. Get to know how to form and have healthy relationships with other people. It's a time for preparation. Most importantly, preparation for the mission of God. Whatever God gives you the opportunity to do with your gifts and your talents, it will also be an opportunity for ministry. The days of your single season, they count. Don't count the days, make the days count for his glory. Hey, if you found this video helpful, go ahead and comment down below what one of your biggest takeaways was. And give this video a thumbs up and also share it with one of your girlfriends. Join me next week as we conclude our Living Single series with part 3, Singleness and Sex. Yeah, you don't want to miss it. Thank you so much for watching, friends. I love you so much, and I will see you next time. Bye.